Hello everyone. On this new year, New Orleans, United States was attacked by a terrorist named Shamsud-Din Jabbar, using a truck, killing 15 people, and injuring at least 30 people. How is the full news? Watch this video until the end, okay? This news come from theguardian.com. New Orleans truck attack that killed 15 being investigated as act of terrorism. Joe Biden said suspect in attack that also injured at least 30 expressed a desire to kill in videos. January 2, 2025. At least 15 people have been killed and more than 30 injured after a vehicle flying an Islamic State (IS) flag drove into a crowd in New Orleans tourist district in the early hours of New Year's Day. The FBI said Shamsud-Din Jabbar, a 42-year-old U.S. citizen from Texas, drove a Ford pickup truck into a crowd of revelers on New Orleans' famous Bourbon Street at about 3:15 am. He then got out and fired bullets at police, injuring 2, before they shot him to death. Jabbar's truck appeared to have been rented, and agents were working to verify how he came to possess it, the FBI said. In addition to an Islamic State flag in the back, agents found weapons as well as a potential improvised explosive device. At least 2 improvised explosive devices were planted relatively nearby but did not detonate, according to information in a bulletin distributed to senior law enforcement sources briefed on the investigation. In brief remarks on Wednesday evening, Joe Biden said the FBI had found that mere hours before the attack the suspect posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill. Biden said the investigation was still in a preliminary stage and that the situation was fluid. Biden said law enforcement was continuing to look for any connections, associations, or co-conspirators. He said investigators were also probing the explosion of a Tesla Cybertruck outside Donald Trump's hotel in Las Vegas and whether there was any possible connection with the attack in New Orleans. Earlier on Wednesday, the FBI said it was working with our partners to investigate this as an act of terrorism. The New Orleans Police Superintendent, Ann Kirkpatrick, said in a news conference on Wednesday morning, "It was very intentional behavior. This man was trying to run over as many people as he possibly could. He was hell-bent on creating the carnage and the damage that he did." The attacker managed to drive his white pickup truck between the 100 and 400 blocks of Bourbon Street in the lower part of the French Quarter, which was packed with people celebrating New Year's Eve. The area is a popular nightlife destination that attracts tourists and locals. After driving the truck into the crowd, the attacker fired a rifle from the vehicle while wearing body armor as well as a helmet. He later jumped out of the truck and fired on police, according to the bulletin. The bulletin said that about 30 minutes after the suspect was shot dead, investigators found a pipe bomb with nails and suspected C4 explosives inside an ice chest left near police patrol cars at the corner of Bourbon and Orleans Streets, roughly 3 blocks from where the attack ended. A second device was found about a block away from the first. Investigators spotted a third possible device in a purple suitcase near the corner of North Rampart Street and Esplanade Avenue, toward the upper edge of the French Quarter. 2 of the devices have been confirmed as pipe bombs concealed within coolers that were wired for remote detonation, the bulletin said. Investigators discovered a corresponding remote in Jabbar's truck, which also had mason jars containing a clear liquid consistent with explosives. Officers determined a 4th possible device was not explosive. A short-term rental home linked to Jabbar, in New Orleans' St. Roch neighborhood, less than 2 miles from the scene of the attack, was on fire on Wednesday morning. Officers arrived to find the home had been intentionally set on fire, the bulletin said, and, after firefighters brought the blaze under control, discovered bomb-making materials there. Louisiana's Attorney General, Liz Morrill, told NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt that these individuals who had rented the house were using it for that purpose. The FBI said on Wednesday it did not believe Jabbar was solely responsible for the deadly attack and asked the public for help in tracking down associates. The bulletin said surveillance camera footage showed 3 men and a woman planting one of the explosive devices. But CNN later reported that investigators had since ruled out those people as having anything to do with planting the devices. Meanwhile, a second car near the attack is drawing focus. Security cameras owned by New Orleans city government identified one car in particular that was following the truck with which Jabbar carried out the attack, according to the intelligence bulletin. The bulletin said both the truck and that second car shared a link. Each was owned by a Texas resident who previously lived in the New Orleans suburb of Harvey, and both were rented out. Police descended on the owner's address in Harvey but did not find him there, the bulletin said. ABC News reported speaking to the owner, who described having spoken with the FBI. The Houston news station KPRC2 reported drone video showing a man at a home connected to Jabbar surrendering to authorities. Earlier, the FBI said agents in Houston were conducting law enforcement activity at an area in the north part of the city in connection with the attack in New Orleans. Jabbar served in the U.S. Army for 13 years, according to Army officials. Earlier, the FBI said agents in Houston were conducting law enforcement activity at an area in the north part of the city in connection with the attack in New Orleans. Jabbar served in the U.S. Army for 13 years, according to Army officials. He was a human resource specialist and information technology specialist from 2007 until 2015. He then joined the Army Reserve as an IT specialist where he served until 2020, including as a staff sergeant, an Army official said. He also deployed to Afghanistan from February 2009 to January 2010. In August 2004, before his Army service, Jabbar enlisted in the Navy, but he was discharged a month later, a Navy official told Reuters. NBC reported that he did not attend recruit training in the Navy and thus did not serve. In a social media video touting a real estate business for which he worked after the military, Jabbar recounted how he had grown up in Beaumont, Texas, about an hour east of Houston, and had remained there most of his life until he joined the military. In the footage, he said his military experience enabled him to be a fierce negotiator for his real estate clients, among other things. Jabbar graduated with a computer information systems degree from Georgia State University after studying there from 2015 to 2017, school officials told Atlanta News First. Corporate records show that Jabbar got involved in a series of real estate businesses in recent years. The consulting firm Deloitte issued a statement saying Jabbar had served in a staff-level role there since being hired in 2021. We are shocked to learn of reports today that the individual identified as a suspect had any association with our firm, Deloitte's statement said. Like everyone, we are outraged by this shameful and senseless act of violence and are doing all we can to assist authorities in their investigation. Online Texas criminal court records show Jabbar had relatively minor offenses in his past, including a misdemeanor theft and driving with an invalid license before his military service. The New York Times reported he was twice divorced. And in 2022, during the second divorce, he reportedly wrote an email complaining that he needed to settle the divorce because he could not afford to make his house payment otherwise. The Times reported speaking to the new husband of Jabbar's second ex-wife, Nakedra Charles. Charles' husband, Dwayne Marsh, said Jabbar, who had 2 daughters with Charles, had converted to Islam at some point and more recently started acting all crazy, cutting his hair. Marsh said he and Charles eventually stopped allowing her daughters, ages 15 and 20, to spend time with Jabbar and that each of them were a mess after the attack. In an evening update, the New Orleans coroner said the death toll from Wednesday's attack stood at least 15. Local media identified the first known fatalities as Nakira Cheyenne Dedo, 18, who had traveled to New Orleans from nearby Gulfport, Mississippi, with a cousin and a friend, Reggie Hunter, a 37-year-old father of 2 from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Tiger Beck, a 27-year-old Lafayette, Louisiana, native and former football player. A 4th victim was named as Nicole Perez, a 28-year-old mother and delicatessen manager from Metairie, Louisiana, who was celebrating the New Year with friends. The New Orleans police chief said the 2 police officers who had been shot were in stable condition at New Orleans University Medical Center. The police chief said most of the injured were believed to be local residents, and not visitors. As the sun began to rise over the city on New Year's Day, law enforcement from a number of agencies had swarmed across the city's French Quarter. Much of Bourbon Street was blocked off as police checked the area for secondary devices. New Orleans government for years has been using bollards meant to prevent motorists from driving up Bourbon Street at particularly crowded times, including for major celebrations like New Year's. But those bollards were down for repairs at the time of Wednesday morning's attack. At the intersection of Bourbon Street and Canal Street, usually a bustling tourist hub, dozens of city police cars lined the streets. Yellow police tape was wrapped around the main drag and 3 white vans from the parish coroner's office were parked parallel, near where the attack took place. One resident, who did not want to give his name, had been asleep at his home nearby when the attacks began and said he awoke to screams of terror and shouts of no. Jay McGuffey, 28, told The Guardian she had been visiting the city from Mississippi and had been in a nightclub on Bourbon Street when the incident took place. "We were just having fun, celebrating New Year's, and then they told us to get out 'cause somebody had got shot. Then we heard that a truck had been through here, and 15 people had been shot," McGuffey said. The witness added that she had not been allowed into her hotel because there were still bodies on the ground. "How did this happen? There are like 100 cops out here," she said. A security camera video directed at Canal Street captured the truck at the center of Wednesday's attack approaching Bourbon Street, which was blocked off by a police patrol cruiser. The truck turned right, went around the front of the cruiser, climbed the sidewalk and then sped up on Bourbon Street, seeming to hit people before vanishing from view of the camera, according to video of the footage circulating later on Wednesday. CNN quoted a witness, Kevin Garcia, 22, as saying, "All I seen was a truck slamming into everyone on the left side of Bourbon sidewalk. A body came flying at me," he said, adding that he had also heard gunshots. New Orleans has postponed the Sugar Bowl, a major college football game between the University of Georgia and the University of Notre Dame originally scheduled for Wednesday evening, to Thursday. The city is also preparing to host the NFL Super Bowl on February 9. The city hosted a parade on Tuesday ahead of the Sugar Bowl, and according to CNN, the New Orleans Police Department had said it would be staffed at 100% during the festivities. This news come from NewYorkPost.com. Inside terrorist Shamsud-Din Jabbar's squalid home where sheep and goats roam his yard after his financial ruin. The terrorist who killed 15 people when he plowed his truck down crowded Bourbon Street in New Orleans was an American-born military veteran who was living in a run-down trailer park where he kept sheep and goats in the yard just blocks away from the local mosque. Authorities say Shamsud-Din Jabbar, 42, from Houston, had an ISIS flag strapped to the rented Ford F-150 Lightning EV truck he used to carry out an act of premeditated terror on New Year's Day. Jabbar lived in a trailer park blocks away from a mosque. Animals including sheep, goats, and chickens seen in the backyard of Shamsud-Din Jabbar's Houston home. Chickens seen on the side of Jabbar's trailer. Picture of Shamsud-Din Jabbar killed 15 people in the Bourbon Street attack. Shamsud-Din Jabbar was a US-born military veteran who went from success to a squalid Houston trailer park where sheep roamed his yard. He served in the army for more than a decade and deployed to Afghanistan before he carried out his ISIS-inspired attack on Wednesday, according to his service record. Working as an IT specialist, he was stationed in Afghanistan from February 2009 until January 2010, the service branch said in a summary of military experience. Shamsud-Din Jabbar was a US-born military veteran who went from success to a squalid Houston trailer park where sheep roamed his yard. Jabbar in a photo from his time in the Army. Jabbar served active duty from March 2007 until January 2015 and was a reservist from January 2015 until July 2020. He left the service at the rank of Staff Sergeant, according to the Army. A map of the New Year's Day terror attack in New Orleans. In a YouTube video he posted in 2020 for his real estate business, a clean-cut Jabbar described himself as a reliable, trustworthy native Texan who spent 10 years in the military, which taught him the meaning of great service. But when he carried out the terror attack, one of the deadliest since 9/11, Jabbar lived in a squalid trailer park on the outskirts of Houston that is home to mostly Muslim immigrants. Geese, chickens, and sheep roamed freely in Jabbar's yard when the Post visited hours after the attack. Jabbar was described by a neighbor as being quiet and a simple person. One neighbor told the Post she spoke only Urdu, Pakistan's national language. The neighborhood is also within walking distance of the local mosque, Masjid Bilal, where no one answered the telephone on Wednesday. Law enforcement sources told the Post that they found videos Jabbar made where he referenced the Quran, Islam's holy text. The backyard of the last known address of Shamsud-Din Jabbar, located in a trailer park in Houston. A frame from a 2020 YouTube video in which Shamsud-Din Jabbar claimed to have served in the military. Jabbar traveled to Egypt for 10 days last year, officials told the Post. By mid-afternoon the feds swooped in, kicking the Post and other journalists out of the area and cordoning it off. Dozens of police vehicles swarmed the neighborhood, including an armored, military-style truck. Initially, residents were allowed past the barriers, although the Post heard one agent telling a family to take your kids and leave, and another order of "get your hands up" blasted over a loudspeaker. In brief conversations before the lockdown, his neighbors seemed to know little about him. François Venegas described Jabbar as a simple person who kept to himself, though they would occasionally exchange words on the street. He was pretty quiet, just walking, he would say hello, hola, and that was it, Venegas said. Jabbar had been arrested twice, once in Katy, Texas, for theft in 2002, court records show, and again 3 years later for driving without a valid license, the New York Times reported. He had also been divorced twice, and the failed marriages apparently left him in financial ruin. Jabbar's first wife sued him for child support payments in 2012, court records show. Amid his second divorce in 2022, he said he had racked up more than $16,000 in credit card debt paying court fees and expenses for a second home, according to an email to his ex-wife's lawyer viewed by the Times. "I cannot afford the house payment," he wrote. He added that his real estate business suffered more than $28,000 in losses the previous year. His first wife, Nakadra Jabbar, has since remarried, and she and her new husband were cooperating with investigators, her husband's father, Nelson Marsh Sr., told the New York Post. Well, that's the news about New Orleans, United States, which was attacked by a terrorist named Shamsud-Din Jabbar, using a truck, killing 15 people. We express our condolences for the incident that occurred. That's all for this video. Jesus Christ bless you.
Saat ku menutup mata dan usai lembaran hidupku, saat ku terlelap dan takkan lagi terjaga, kasih-Mu selalu milikku. Saat nafasku terhenti di akhir perjalananku, hanya diri-Mu yang selalu memegang tanganku dan membangkitkan aku. Dan ku kan hidup bersama-Mu, takkan pernah kekasihku, maka jiwaku pun tenang. Saat nafasku terhenti di akhir perjalananku, hanya dirimu yang selalu memegang tanganku dan membangkitkan aku. Dan ku kan hidup bersamamu, takkan pernah ada air mata, karena dirimu selalu di sisiku, maka jiwaku pun tenang. And I will step into eternity with you, my King, without any tears falling, 'cause I know your love is always there for me. My soul rests in you, and I will step into eternity with you, my King, without any tears falling, 'cause I know your love is always there for me. My soul rests in you, my God. My soul rests in you, my God. My soul rests in you, my God.